So this is about poor learning outcomes during the time of the pandemic, right? So the data points are important. I mean, that was the entire purpose. I wanted to put all these things together. And keep in mind, it is not just during those 2 years of pandemic. In future also, there will be repercussions. So this is about COVID-19 and learning outcomes. So let's move to the next topic: religion and pandemic. What is the linkage between religion and pandemic? So how is this relevant? So see, what we are trying to understand in this discussion is what has been the role of religion during the pandemic. And if you look at the syllabus, broadly 2-3 places will be relevant. I mean, in your syllabus, there is one topic, religion and society. So how religion impacts society? So we'll look at that. And secondly, social change, right? How societies are changing. Social change in modern society. Okay, we'll look at that dimension. Now, if you have to understand the role of religion in the pandemic, you can just go one step back. Think how at different points of time, religion tried to offer some solutions. How at different points of time, religion might have impacted the spread of the virus as well. Right? So that has also happened. Think of different kinds of religious congregations that happened during the time of pandemic. Flouting of different kinds of COVID-19 protocols that also happened. All these things could have increased the spread of the disease. But at the same time, religion also gave some answers to people. Maybe religion improved the mental health situation of people at the cost of physical health maybe. So what we will do is we will look at all these different dimensions. So there was a beautiful article in EPW related to religion and pandemic. So again, most of the things that we're going to talk about will be from that article. Again, some more articles have also been referred to, but primarily it is an EPW article. It's in the handout we have the link. So let's see how religion and pandemic are linked with one another. But before going there, I have one image for you and I have a question for you. I mean, you have to guess. I'm not saying that you will all be able to recognize it. So this is one image, and I'm giving a hint. This person who is dressed in white is one prominent sociologist about whom we have talked about multiple times. This is a sociologist who is studying a tribal community in some island. Right? So, who is this sociologist? Or you can also name the tribals here. Who are these tribal communities? You can put it in the chat box. Guesses, you can just guess it. This sociologist in white and the tribal community. You can put it in the chat box. The next thing that we're going to discuss, the role of religion. Right? The role of religion. There's a linkage with this particular image. Yeah, there are 2 answers. I want some couple of more answers. Some people have pointed to that time. He's not an Indian sociologist. Does he look like Indian? I don't think he looks like Indian. Talcott Parsons. Keep in mind, Talcott Parsons was someone who he never believed in these field researches, right? He was someone who was more of an armchair sociologist. Aditya, many people have talked about that time, but there's one person who pointed it correctly. I think it was Sonali, who mentioned about Malinowski, I guess. Right, so this particular, so this is not Srinivas, this is not Girens, this is not Talcott Parsons, this is not Gure and all, right? Not an Indian sociologist. He is Malinowski, right? And Malinowski is basically sitting along with some Probrand Islanders. Right, so there's one image from that. So he's one of those people who used to go to the actual settings of people and used to study tribal communities. Now, what is the linkage of religion and the pandemic? Now, if you study Malinowski's work, what does Malinowski say? What does Malinowski say about the role of religion? He says that religion, the main role of religion, is to provide emotional security to individuals and society during life crisis. So whenever there is any event which is uncertain, if there is any event which is kind of unpredictable, at this point of time, religion gives you some element of certainty. It gives you that strength. It gives you that emotional security. When he was studying the Probrand Islanders, he noticed this. These communities, they were staying in an island. They were dependent on fishing for their survival. Whenever they used to go to shallow waters, calm waters, at that point of time, they did not use any religion. Right? At that point of time, they will just venture out into the seas. But whenever they used to go to deep waters, whenever there is a probability of storm happening, at this point of time, these Probranders, whose photo you just saw right now, at this point of time, they used to have different kind of rituals. They used to invoke different kind of rituals. They used to resort to religion. So whenever things are unpredictable, whenever things are uncertain, at that point of time, religion might help relieve some form of stress. Right? Religion can try to give you some form of solace. It can have a calming influence. It can comfort you. Think of the pandemic. When the pandemic started, right, it started from China, then other places, they started reporting these cases. So initial months, you did not know how things will pan out. At that point of time, science was not as advanced, or at least we did not know about the nature of the pandemic. You remember how people used to wear the PPE kits, right, and those white PPE kits, because they did not know how the virus can impact you. You were completely fully covered. The doctors, the healthcare workers used to do that. So you had no idea how things will pan out. Things were extremely unpredictable. Things were extremely uncertain. It's a different thing that over a period of time, we were able to understand the pandemic, understand the virus, the nature of the virus, how it spreads, how it can be contained, we came up with vaccines, etc. But in the initial time, it was not known. And in fact, now also, we don't know about many components of the virus, many aspects of the virus, right? How new variants can come up, when a new variant can come up. We don't know that. Now also, as we're talking, there are certain countries where the number of cases are escalated like anything, like places like Hong Kong, Singapore, China, right? They're having escalated number of cases. So pandemic is one of the situations where we had massive amount of uncertainty. Just like when Probranders were going to the deep waters, extreme level of uncertainty, they are using religion. Similarly, during the time of pandemic, there might have been individuals who would have possibly become more religious-minded. That can also, we'll see that. So we will try to look at all the different components, how religion and pandemic were linked with one another. What was the role of religion during the pandemic? So let's see one by one. Firstly, religion is an explanatory system. What is the meaning of that? Religion can help explain things. If you do not have science, something that we talk about quite often. If you have science, then again, science will explain that. But till the point of time you don't have science, religion can act as a mechanism to provide answers to different questions. During the initial phases of the pandemic, you did not have answers. How things will pan out, you don't have answers to that. So religion is acting as that cognitive mechanism, that body of knowledge, which possibly can give you some explanations. So different religions, religious scholars, they try to find out some answers to this problem. What is this pandemic all about? Where the world is heading towards? Different kind of explanations came up. Some religious leaders used to say that this entire pandemic is because of human weakness. It is because of the deeds of human beings. When you got to know that maybe this virus emerged from some wet markets in Wuhan in China, then explanations came out that man has been trying to control nature. Nature is something which has been created by God. So if man is trying to control nature, man is going against the will of God. And as man went against the will of God, there were these kind of repercussions. So these kind of examples came up. Then there were some religious scholars who were trying to give a very grim picture. They were saying that maybe we have arrived at that judgment day. Right? Some religions talk about that, right? Judgment day, when the world is going to get over. They look at the pandemic, what all is happening in the during the pandemic, and they are trying to interpret that the world is now going to be demolished. It is now going to get over. There is going to be an apocalypse. It's the day of judgment. So these kind of interpretations started emerging. But then there were also some religions who talked about a more human response to those who are facing different hardships, misery during the pandemic. There was a call for action. Different religions, right? They will preach about action, that we need to do something more. In fact, you would remember different religious organizations, charitable trusts, they all came together to help people who were facing the crisis. Many, for example, Sikh organizations like Khalsa Aid and other organizations, they were providing relief to people. They were providing support to people. During the first lockdown, they were providing food packets to migrants in urban areas. During the second wave of the pandemic, many of them were not only providing food, they were arranging for oxygen cylinders, medicines, etc. They were trying to arrange for hospital beds. Some organizations, right, they were also promoting their members to donate plasma and other things, right? Again, it's a different thing that plasma treatment and other things were taken out of the protocol for treatment of COVID, but at that point of time, when government norms were for plasma donation, many organizations went for that as well. So, call for action, more human response. Another thing also happened. Different kinds of conspiracy theories. Right? So when you are explaining things, sometimes there might be emergence of conspiracy theories as well. What are conspiracy theories? See, these theories have a different way of arriving at some conclusions. They will try to find out some alternate reason for something. During the time of the pandemic, again, many conspiracy theories. Okay, these are all false things, these are not true, but again, might have had some religious backings. For example, some conspiracy theories, they started saying that, okay, this has been created by the Chinese atheists. This virus has been deliberately created by Chinese atheists to harm others. Right? One conspiracy theory was there. Some conservative Christians in the United States, right, as per the EPW article, there is a reference here, they were saying that this virus is nothing, it is just a hoax. It is this hoax, this false news has been created, it does not exist. It has been, the media is also polarized, they're using the media so that certain political values can be promoted. This is again one conspiracy theory. In case of India, some TV news channels in India, right? So they also created different conspiracy theories. They portrayed Tablighi Jamaat congregation, which happened in March 2020. At that point of time, the government had not even declared that COVID was a health emergency, right? So some of them again painted a different picture. Corona jihad and all those things they talked about. There was another Colombian pastor couple. They were saying that the method of vaccination will lead to some form of surveillance mechanism. Through vaccination, some microchips will be fitted in individuals' bodies, by which again people can be tracked. A database of all those who have been given vaccines will be somewhere maintained. So these kind of false theories also emerged. And again, it was being perpetuated among people. Not only conspiracy theories, the religions, the institutional religions also got impacted by this process. How religions are getting impacted? As there were norms related to social distancing, physical distancing. So a lot of people cannot accumulate in one place. Church, mosques, right? So there were different kinds of restrictions on that. Temples, different religious gatherings, right? It's a different thing that later on all these things, some of these norms would have been violated. But these norms were initially very strong, especially during the lockdowns, right? Now, as a result of it, what happened? Many of these religions now adopted technology. So many of them will be carrying out the Sunday service maybe, or artis in temples. All these things were now being carried out. Were being carried out by a few number of people, but they were being telecast on Zoom or Google Meet, etc. So they are now finding out new mechanisms. So if all these things become online, what will happen? Just imagine. Initially it might be good for these institutional religions because now at least whatever services or whatever things are going on, it will continue. But over a period of time, they are also realizing that it might go against their interest. Different kind of apprehensions started emerging. How? See, many of these institutions, they will have different kinds of restrictions. For example, many of these religious institutions might be patriarchal. They might not allow entry of women, for example. But now if things are happening online, anyone can be part of these things, right? Anyone can access these things. Apart from that, in the past, most likely people will visit a church or a temple or a mosque which is near to. But now there is no such restriction, right? People can access these things anywhere, world over. Right? I might be in India, but I might be somewhere in Bangalore, but I might do arti somewhere, arti the temple which is located somewhere else, not necessarily in Bangalore. So some of these religious institutions have now started having appearances. One is their finances might get impacted. Secondly, those who are the believers, those who are the devotees, they might get used to these alternate mechanisms. Some of these believers, devotees, may not patronize the shrines. So all these kind of things started emerging, right? So apprehensions are also there because of the changing practices. Another linkage between religion and pandemic. See, through religion, you also try to find out solutions. So during the pandemic, as things were uncertain, you did not have any solution. So at this point of time also, religion, rituals, they are also trying to find out some solution to that. So different kind of remedies were also prescribed by religion. From cow urine to chlorine dioxide to magic beans to different kind of oils, different religions and religious bodies promoted some of these practices. Now, keep in mind, I'm not saying that these are things which should be used, right? Many of them will not have any scientific backing. There will not be any empirical evidence that whether these things can cure COVID. What I'm saying is, this is another aspect of religion, right? You try to find out solutions through religion, and these kind of things were perpetuated. These kind of things were promoted. In some instances, these would have been harmful as well. If an individual is having the virus, ideally that person should get treated as per, again, scientific evidence, empirical evidence-based medicine. But if the person is delaying treatment and is depending on these kind of things, as the things might get escalated, that person might become, health condition might become worse off. Right? So this way, maybe physical health could have been impacted for an individual who has COVID. And the last dimension here, the linkage between science and religion. Are people becoming more religious during pandemic? Now here there was something that was interesting. There were different studies being carried out to find out how people's religious belief is changing during the pandemic. And there was a study in Poland which finds out that there was an increase in religiosity and religious practice among the young people. There was a study carried out with new research. It found out that 28% of Americans, they now had a stronger faith in religion during the pandemic. Now what does this say? Something which Malinowski talked about, right? when you can't explain things, when things are uncertain, when things are unpredictable. At that point of time, people resort to religion. Same thing we are observing. Maybe our societies have moved towards industrialization, they're getting organized, they're more scientific. But when you are faced with a crisis situation, when you are faced with an uncertain, unpredictable situation, people hold on to things which are traditional. And this is what the new study states. Right? Again, this is the study, and they find out that in US, 28% people reported stronger religious beliefs during the time of the pandemic. Right? So this graph shows that. Right? Among all US adults, 28% are reporting stronger faith in religion. And again, there is a breakup as well. Who has higher faith? Right? For example, Christians reported even stronger faith, stronger increase in faith as compared to Jews and other things. But the point is, more people are saying that they now believe in religion even strongly. So this is the linkage between religion and the pandemic. Right? So you might get questions from this aspect. How religion played a role during the pandemic. You might get a question. Religion hurt as well as helped during the pandemic. So what you have to do, you have to look at those aspects which help during the pandemic. For example, right, people do not have answers to questions. Maybe religion is giving some of these answers as a result of which people are satisfied. I mean, usually, human beings have different kinds of queries. Religion is trying to fit into that role, cognitive role. But at the same time, it might have hurt. Right? Different kinds of theory, different kinds of alternative therapies, practice might have been promoted religion, which will have delayed people. You can also talk about how this is helping in terms of how different religious organizations, charitable trusts, how all of them are coming together to help people in need. Right? The human response to the pandemic, human response to misuse of religion. So this is about religion and pandemic, the different linkages. Right? Therapeutic means therapy. What is therapy? Some form of a cure. So therapeutic effect means we're trying to cure the impact of the virus, cure the disease that has been caused by the virus. Right. So I'll take the questions at the end because we have two more topics to cover. Put your questions in the chat box. We'll take it up one by one. Okay. Yeah. So this is about religion and the pandemic. The next topic is collective effervescence. Now, what is this and why are we talking about it? So during the lockdown, during the confinement measures, right? What happened? Individuals are all staying isolated. Physical distance has to be maintained. And at this point of time, different articles came up, different studies came up, which talked about the concept of collective effervescence. So what is collective effervescence? How is it relevant? And as the confinement measures were taken up, right? So we have had different lockdowns, right? And it is not just the case in India, and other places also that is the same thing. So after removal of these lockdowns, when people are meeting one another, they're mingling with one another, what is happening? Possibly that can be explained using this concept of collective effervescence. So this term we will see, and keep in mind that this term that we are seeing again may not be given. You will ask a question which is of 20 marks or so. You will most likely be asked, if you are at all asked, you'll be asked to make short notes on these kind of things. Right? It's not something which you want to study in details. Just you should know what the concept is. Which part of the syllabus? Think us the time. So what is this collective effervescence? The definition of this is collective effervescence refers to the sense of energy and harmony people feel when they come together in a group around a shared purpose. The energy, the excitement people feel when they are coming together in a group. That is collective effervescence. Now I can give you an example. There are multiple examples. See, when you are just meeting some friends of yours, you're all alone during the lockdown, but now you're all meeting for a lunch meeting. Now the confinement measures have been removed. The positivity rate in the region has gone down. Very few cases are being reported. So the situation is better. So what you have decided that you all go together and you'll sit together. And maybe you spend the Sunday afternoon together, you'll have lunch together. So when you're all together, there is some form of energy, there is some form of excitement. That is called collective effervescence. And it may not necessarily be about hanging together. In fact, sometimes you can be with strangers as well. Let's say you're going to a dance floor, maybe. I mean, since you are all preparing for civil service, I don't know how much you have time to go to a dance floor. But maybe at some point of time, you would have gone to a dance floor. Or in future, you're planning to go to a dance floor. And you go there. Maybe there are strangers around you who are dancing, and you also dance with. The kind of enjoyment that is there when you are in the dance floor along with some strangers. Or when you're watching some sports, right? You're going to the stadium, there's IPL is going on, you go to the stadium, a few of you, right? You're all watching the sports together. That's that kind of that emotion that comes out, that emotional outburst that is there. That is collective effervescence. See, what I want to say here is, during the pandemic, during the confinement measures, as we are all isolated, we were not experiencing collective effervescence. But as societies, as the impact of the pandemic on societies got used, we started hanging out with people, and then we are able to experience that. So that feeling when you're together, when you're enjoying things together with people around you, that is called collective effervescence. That emotion, that feeling, that sense of energy, that is called collective effervescence. Now, this is one image from the New York Times which tries to depict that. Right? So there are people together, they are kind of connected with one another. So they're all linked with one another, and again it shows a very happy picture, right? So white, colorful, bright, right? So they are trying to depict collective effervescence. When you're alone, right? Maybe the picture will have been slightly dark, but here you're all together, you're enjoying, hanging out. So now, how is this linked with Durkheim? Right? What did Durkheim say about collective effervescence? So this is something that he talked about in his elementary forms of religious lives. According to Durkheim, a community or society sometimes comes together and simultaneously communicates the same thought and participates in the same action. So members of the community, they're coming together. They're having the same thought, they're practicing the same action. It causes collective effervescence. This helps create excitement among the individuals, and this also unifies them. Those who are having lunch together, those who are going to movies together, those who are going to watch sports together, they will get unified as a group. The individuals in that are excited. So this is what Durkheim had talked about. Right? So collective effervescence leads to excitement among individuals. It also leads to unification of that group. Now, I have one image for you. I want to ask you a question. And again, you have to guess, you have to make a calculated guess. Who are these people in this image? It is linked with collective effervescence. So you can just put it in the chat box. Kartika says rain dances. No, it's not rain dances. It's another group. Something that's hint, Durkheim. Something that Durkheim studied. Yeah, So now you have now people have started Galaxy Tab A, not yogis, right? So that guy was not studying yogis. So Avnish, Lakshmi, they have got it right. They are the Arunta tribes, right? He studied the Arunta tribes in Australia, right? So these are the Arunta tribes. So how is this linked, right? What is the linkage between Arunta tribes and collective effervescence? If you remember, Durkheim was trying to understand the practices among the Arunta tribes. What he had observed was the members of the Arunta tribes, they used to come together, they used to engage in certain kind of rituals around the cooking. So when they used to come together, they used to worship or they used to carry out different kind of rituals. At that point of time, they also used to feel some form of excitement. And all these things used to make their bonds stronger. It used to create that social solidarity. If you reflect back, according to Durkheim, religion is nothing but the worship of society. And how you are worshiping society through that cooking. So by how this is happening, when these members of the Arunta tribes are coming together, they come together for certain purpose, they are carrying out different kinds of rituals around that cooking. So there is collective effervescence. It leads to unification of that group. It leads to excitement among these individuals. It leads to unification. It leads to social solidarity among them. Right? So they're experiencing certain kind of social force. And he calls this feeling of energy generated in the collective gatherings as collective effervescence. Right? So collective effervescence as a concept is there in the time study. Now there are a couple of interesting points here. This collective effervescence, he talked about it in 1912 when his elementary forms of religious life came to be. But after 1912, what is happening? From 1914 onwards, you have the World War I. Also, you have the Spanish flu pandemic. Right? So he came up with this concept in 1912, but then afterwards, since you're having a world war, you're having the Spanish flu, again, this collective effervescence would have been impacted. People would not have been able to participate in different kinds of group activities. In 1920s, things are changing. 1920s are referred to as the roaring 20s, especially in the United States. Why? At this point of time, the economy started doing well. It was the post-war period, right? As war had devastated the economy, now you had the reconstruction phase. Manufacturing industries, all these started operating at a much higher pace. The output increased. So in the roaring 20s, people again participated in different activities. This is the time where collective effervescence was back in full force. Dance, music, sports, all these events people participated in large numbers. So this is some trivia I wanted to give. Now, as I mentioned, during the pandemic, right, collective effervescence is something that people would not have been able to enjoy. It would have impacted unity among people, but as pandemic has become weaker or at different phases, the impact of the pandemic was weak. So again, different kinds of confinement measures, lockdown measures were reduced, as a result of which people started enjoying collective effervescence. Now, 2-3 more points I wanted to point out. So during the pandemic, there were other factors which also impacted solidarity. The kind talks about solidarity, right? So during the pandemic, there were some other elements which impacted collective solidarity. There were some other points, some other things which happened, which would have also led to social exclusion. So keep in mind, and I'll just give you a couple of examples, you can easily understand that. There were different kinds of racial prejudices during the time of the pandemic, and they might continue. For example, we got to know that the pandemic emerged, the virus outbreak emerged from China, right? There were some wet markets in Wuhan where possibly the virus could have emerged. Now, this led to different kinds of xenophobic attitude towards Chinese, right? So there was increase in hatred and xenophobic attitude towards Chinese nationals. And I mean, different Chinese nationals will be there. They might not be responsible. There might be some individuals who might have been responsible. Again, that's also not conclusively proven. But there were increase in hatred, xenophobia. Xenophobia means fear of anything foreign. So increase in hatred, increase in xenophobia towards some Chinese nationals. Again, this is reported in the paper by Melker. Apart from that, in India also, there were different kinds of hate crimes or different kinds of racial prejudices against those who were from the northeastern states. So there was this organization, Rights and Risk Analysis Group. They were monitoring hate crimes and racial discrimination between 7th February to March 2020, and they're finding out that those who were from the northeastern states of India, different kinds of hate crimes, discrimination, they had to face. Name calling, forced to leave apartments, forced to not be in restaurants. So these kind of things they had to face because of facial resemblance with people in China. Apart from that, if you observe some TV channels, branded Muslim communities, right? Because there were some members of Tablighi Jamaat who were part of some congregation in March. So the entire Muslim community was being branded in a particular way. They were being labeled in a particular way. So there were different kinds of racial prejudices which might have also impacted social solidarity. On top of that, social exclusion was also there. Those who had the virus, or I'm talking about initial phases, right? Now, the most of the people, many people have the virus, but at that point of time, the initial phases, those who used to have the virus, or those who were the public health workers, they were also discriminated. There was a social stigma initially. There was one study carried out in South Korea. According to that study, the respondents are saying that 62% of the respondents said that they are more afraid of the social consequences of getting the virus than the health risks associated with the virus. Like what is the health risk, right? You might have different kind of issues. Breathing difficulties will be there. Worst case scenario, individual can die also. But people were more afraid of the social consequences as compared to the health risks. What are the social consequences? They might be discriminated. Right? They might not be allowed to stay here. It's those issues. In fact, those instances also people who got the virus, public health workers, doctors, nurses, right, who used to treat patients, they were also discriminated. In the initial phase, I'm not talking about the later phase. In India also that happened. Right? So what I'm trying to say here is, during the pandemic, collective effervescence, which people normally experience, people were not able to experience because of social isolation. On top of that, there were different kinds of racial prejudices. It can be on the basis of religion, it can be on the basis of social factors. On top of that, there was also social exclusion. Right? So all these things can be considered to be the impact of the pandemic. Now let's move to the last topic, gig economy, sociological analysis. Now this term gig economy has been in the news and it is frequently in the news. So what we will do is we'll try to understand what is gig economy. And we will try to use the sociological lens, right? What is happening in this gig economy? Which part of the syllabus is concerned with? Work and economic life. Right? If you look at paper 1, right? I think it's the 6th chapter, work and economic life. At this term, gig economy is every now and then will come across this. So what we will do is we'll try to understand what is the nature of this new work organization, gig economy. On the screen, you can see a very beautiful, colorful image from New Yorker, which tries to show different kinds of gig workers. For example, this person is a painter. This person is someone who is repairing a window. They might be gig workers. Maybe they're all enrolled or they have their profiles on Urban Clap. Some of you might have used their services. So what is Urban Clap? Urban Clap is an app. A customer like me, let's say I want to get my house painted. Right? I don't have time to paint the house on my own. And again, maybe I don't know who's a good painter near. What I will do, I just log into Urban Clap. I will look at what kind of services they provide. Maybe one of the services they provide is painting a house, painting 2 BHK or 1 BHK, 3 BHK. They can be again different things. They can select that and they will send a worker who will paint it. Basically, they will send a painter. Now, they will have multiple painters enrolled in their platform, right? And again, depending on who is available on which time slot, I will be assigned one. So maybe one of those painters who is assigned to me is this guy. Similarly, think of the Uber drivers, Ola drivers, the delivery boys on Zomato, Swiggy. They're all gig workers. So this image actually tries to show you that different kinds of gig workers. Right here, there is a cab driver. Maybe he's an Ola driver or an Uber driver. Right? This guy is also possibly a gig worker. Maybe he's not necessarily a delivery boy or a painter or someone. Maybe he has taken up different freelance projects. Right? He's developing software for someone, or he's a designer, maybe architect, maybe. Right? Architects can also be freelancers, gig workers. So this image tries to convey. So now let's try to look into the details. What is a gig economy? Who are the gig workers? Gig economy is a labor market characterized by prevalence of short-term contracts, freelance work, as opposed to permanent jobs. Traditionally, how work used to be organized. Let's say I'm a software engineer. Right? I will be employed with Microsoft or Infosys or Google, whatever, depending on my capacity capabilities. And what will happen? They will employ me, and again, every month I'll be getting a salary, and there will be some projects going on. I'll be contributing. So traditionally, this is how work used to be organized, at least till now. So these are all long-term contracts. But now what is happening? The labor market is changing. What is labor market? Labor market means there are some people here who are selling their labor. There are some people who are purchasing the labor. For example, a Zomato delivery guy, what he's doing, he is selling his labor, and then Zomato as a platform is purchasing his labor. But there does not exist any long-term contracts. Zomato is not paying a salary to this individual. What Zomato is doing, the number of times this person is delivering, according to that, Zomato will pay this individual some wage or whatever. So this person is getting paid for the gig. Each food delivery is a gig. So the number of gigs this person carries out, the size of the gig, according to that, payment will be there. If this person has to deliver something which is 15 kilometers away, obviously the payment will be more. If the person has to deliver something which is like 2 kilometers away, the payment will be less. Depending on the type of gig you are getting paid. Same thing for an Uber driver. The Uber driver is not getting a salary from Uber. The Uber driver performs different gigs. Maybe he's taking a passenger, maybe he's providing a service, and the commute distance is 15 kilometers. So depending on the length of the ride, duration of the ride, he will get some commission. So these are all short-term contracts. Depending on the number of gigs you are performing, the type of gigs you are performing, you're not getting some fixed monthly salary. That's not the case. So this is what gig economy means. Like the entire economy consisting of labor market characterized by all these short-term contracts. Now, what are some of the features of the gig economy? Like, let's look at some of the features to understand it better. So this is flexible, temporary, and the jobs are freelance jobs. It's flexible, right? An individual, a Zomato, let's say a delivery executive, can decide whether he wants to work for 5 hours or 10 hours. That person can decide how many food deliveries he will carry out. Maybe he will be carrying out 10 deliveries, maybe he will be willing to carry out 20 deliveries. It's up to him. So there is a flexibility. If you are working for an Infosys or a Wipro or a TCS, whatever, right? You have to be in office from 9 to 5, and you will have some projects to carry out. You not have that flexibility. You can't say, okay, today I will work for 2 hours, tomorrow I will work for 5 hours, next day I will work for 9 hours. You can't do that. Here there is flexibility. This is temporary. It's not permanent. Tomorrow, let's say, no one orders from Zomato. The Zomato delivery guys will not have anything to do. It is freelance. You're not employed with one individual, with one firm. You can work for multiple firms. You can decide to work for 2 firms. You can decide to work for 5 firms. Usually, clients or customers are connected through online platforms. Like if I am ordering food from Swiggy or Zomato, right? I am a customer. How the Zomato workers or Swiggy workers, delivery executives, how are they connected with me? I am on those platforms. That is how they're connected with me. But keep in mind, it is not always the case that the customers will be on online platforms. It can also be the case that it's not online. Sometimes it can also happen. It leads to cheaper, more efficient services. Makes life more easy. Look at the customers, right? Their life is easier because of this. In the past, let's say I wanted to eat food from outside. I have to go to a place. First of all, I have to find which place. Then I have to go to that place, right? Order something over there. It will take time and other things for me. But now I can just order it from my home place. Some of you might have now started using hyperlocal deliveries, right? Zepto and all these things, right? Blinkit. So what they're doing, they're delivering grocery items within 8 minutes, 10 minutes. So in the past, maybe you would have gone to a shop. You would have spent some fuel, time, money, resources on going to the shop and then getting it. Now you just have to order it, and within 10 minutes, they're delivered by again Zepto delivery executives or Blinkit delivery executives, hyperlocal delivery. So it makes life easier, more efficient. There are different types of positions in gig economy. Right? Again, you can be delivery executives. You can also take a different kind of high-end work as well, which pays you well. For example, there are websites where software engineers, coders, not engineers, coders, they will be enrolled, and then there will be firms which want to get certain kind of work done. So these coders are not engaged with one firm. They can take up any of these works and they get paid according to that. Designers, architects, they can also pick up these works. They are also gig workers, by the way. Different kinds of technology, internet, etc. have made gig economy. They have expanded gig economy. Usually the cities, they will have most of this gig work. Like they are the ones who are entrenched in the gig economy. Now, some numbers I have here. Again, you can get these numbers are already there with you. The handout, you can just go through it. I just want to show some numbers from India. In India, what is the size of the gig economy? As per the Economic Survey 2021, India is among the largest in the world when it comes to gig workers. There was one Association report. Association is an industry representative, organization which represents the interest of industry. So they are saying that around 1.5 crore gig economy workers, freelance workers are there in India. There was one study by Boston Consultancy Group. They are saying that India has the potential to have 9 crore gig economy workers. And again, these workers will be in some 4 sectors: construction, manufacturing, retail, and transportation. And what they're saying is this can lead to 1.25% increase in India's GDP. So the contribution of gig economy to the workers can be immense. There's a huge potential. That's what Boston Consultancy Group study says. Right? So this shows that gig economy is now becoming a significant part of India's economy. So now let's do one thing. Last few minutes, we will try to look at this from a sociological lens. What all is happening in this sector, gig economy? First thing, the organization of work is changing. And we have seen how work has been organized at different phases. Right? At some point of time, you had feudal lords and serfs. Before that, masters and slaves. Then you had capitalists and the proletariat, right? Bourgeois proletariat, those kind of things, capitalists and laborers. But now, the nature of work is changing. Who are these gig workers? Right? Are they employees? Are they laborers? Or are they owners? Who are they? So keep in mind, the gig workers can decide how much amount of work they build. They can decide to take up more work. They might decide not to take up enough work. So where do they fall? So the nature of work is changing. The norms of traditional organizations, gig economy doesn't follow. It is not. The gig workers are not on formal payrolls. Right? The formal organizations will have a payroll, right? They're not on these formal payrolls. And most often, they work for multiple organizations, multiple projects. You might have observed the same driver is driving for Uber, the same driver is also driving for Ola, the same driver might also be driving for Salad. So they are working for multiple platforms at the same moment. Like wherever they're getting right, they will take that. The work environment is also different. No boss, no schedule, no just work. You decide, right? How much work you have to do. Right? You decide, and accordingly it will work. And the jobs are unbound jobs. So what is this? See, in the past, firms, if they had to get work done, they will look for workers around them. So let's say there is a manufacturing unit, right? If it had to get work done, it will look for people around them. If it is a services organization, again, it will look for people around them. Right? So they're bounded by geography. But the way economy is changing, it is no longer geographically bounded. There might be some firm, let's say based out of US. It wants some software solution. It does not need to depend on some coder who is staying in US or Canada or nearby region. They can just post the requirement in some platform. There are multiple platforms where you can post for these things. And a freelancer based out of Indonesia, Philippines, India can apply for it. And that person will develop it and this firm will utilize it. So you are now having unbound jobs. Jobs are not necessarily linked with geography. Any freelancer, any place in the world can take it up. The way stratification is there, it is also changing. Gig workers are a new strata. They are a mixture of both employee as well as employer. They are both entrepreneur as well as job seeker. Right? Entrepreneur because again they decide right, how much work is required, and they're job seeker because they're getting paid for their labor. A new term is being used for them, which is called as portfolio worker. So basically, mixture of both. They are in some society that considered as a separate social class. In India also, they are being recognized recently. The code of labor, right? It recognizes them as a separate class, as they have been recognized as part of our labor laws. What about the social safeguards, which is there for the formal workers? Do they enjoy this? Now, the kind of job they are doing, it is precarious. The employment is precarious. It is temporary and unpredictable. Today they have maybe demand. Tomorrow there might not be demand. Let's say today, yeah, people are ordering food from Zomato. Maybe tomorrow there is a massive rainfall, something happens, then there's not much demand. As a result of it, what will happen? Again, those Zomato delivery workers will not be able to make money the next day. So their job is not something permanent. They might not get fixed returns every week. Maybe in some months, certain weeks they will get high wages, but in some other weeks they will not get. And it's not just about Zomato delivery. Think of a designer or a marketer. Maybe for certain durations they will have a project and they will earn it. But for some other durations they might not have nothing else. So there is vulnerability and there is instability. And at some phases they do well, in some phases they might not. So do they have any social safeguards? Not much. Right? So they lack access to different social security benefits. Many countries, for example, will have unemployment benefits and other things. They are not having benefits. And they do not have much control over their income. The demand, right, consumer demand will ensure how much income they have. If the consumer demand for certain kinds of goods commodities goes down, their income will get impacted. And they cannot do much if their account is sensitive. So they have their accounts in different platforms, right? If they're thrown out of that, they can't do much. They don't have much safeguards. They don't have much protection. Right? So social security, social safety is something which is lacking in the gig economy. Then there are also gender dimensions. For example, see, most of the gig work you're able to access through digital platforms. Right? There are online platforms where these big roles are there and you can take it up. But in case of India, as we have already discussed, women lack access to digital infrastructure. When it comes to internet, when it comes to smartphones, women lack access. Right? So there are different studies. For example, GSM and mobile gender gap, they found out that only 16% in India have access to internet. So if women have lesser access to digital infrastructure, they will also have lesser access to gig economy opportunities. Right? So they will not be equally protected. Apart from that, different kinds of other social security benefits. For example, maternity leave and other things, will these gig economy workers, female gig economy workers will not be eligible for. Right? So this is about certain dimensions of gig economy. Now, another way to look at it, right? If I look at it from some other sociological concepts, now think of it. Are they having enough power? What about the power dimension? How are their incomes decided? Usually it will be the algorithms which will decide the income. Their performance, again, for how many drives will they get how much amount of income? Again, algorithm might decide that. Many times, what algorithm, what mechanism is being used behind the scenes is not in the open. Also think of it. Let's say there are 5 drivers nearby. Who will be given more preference for a ride nearby? Again, algorithm decides that. Right? So algorithm is something which decides, and many times these algorithms, or what is the mechanism by which the drivers are allocated work. This is not transparent. So it leads to powerlessness. Another dimension. In a formal setup, what happens? You go and work somewhere. You have people around you, right? There will be different kinds of bonds. That's how it happens. So you have colleagues around you. You have people reporting to you. You are reporting to people. But when you are a gig economy worker, you are isolated. You are just working, and your interface is that platform, that app that is there. So isolation, loneliness can also be one of the characteristics of gig economy. What about alienation? Gig economy workers might also be alienated. Right? How much are they part of the production process? How much of the product that they own? Right? So they might also be alienated. Also, think of it. I mean, you can also think of it as a feature of post-industrial society. Right? So most of these things are services. Right? So post-industrial society. You can also say that atomization of work is happening. Work is becoming short-term. The contracts are becoming short-term. It is also a characteristic of risk society. The number of risks people are taking has increased. Right? There's a preference for risk instead of having a very stable balance. So all these points you can also include. These are all characteristics of the gig economy. Right? So with this, we will conclude our discussion on gig economy. Right? So what is gig economy? What are the features of gig economy? What is the extent of gig economy? How do you think of gig economy from a sociological lens? Right? Generally, you will find the economic lens to understand gig economy, but we try to look at it from the sociological perspective. What I would suggest is any topic that you come across, use similar kind of lens. Okay? Thank you. Good night.